Alrighty, welcome back to another video. So in today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys a few ways to make your sketchbook more aesthetic. And while we're doing that, I'm also going to be making a sketchbook spread. I'm going to try to make this as aesthetic as possible, and I'll use it as an explanation for what's going on in the tips. Okay, let's get into the tips. Okay, number 1, chaotic equals aesthetic. So basically what this means is, I feel like the biggest mistake a lot of people make when they're trying to make their sketchbook aesthetic is that they try to make it perfect. Like they make everything perfectly spaced, they use each page perfectly. But the thing is, this is not what's going to make your sketchbook aesthetic, because it's going to give you more of like a bland look. So like put in some sticky notes or like some little notes or like give it texture, whatever you need. And in the end, it's going to make it more aesthetic. So don't think so hard about it, making it perfect, because in the end, it's just not going to look as good. Okay, number 2 is mixed media. So basically this means different materials. So, okay, I'm not a very good example of this because I use a lot of markers, but you also see I'll use like colored pencil or make pencil sketches or things like that, or watercolor sometimes. And this is like a great way to make things more aesthetic, because back to the chaotic thing, you're mixing things up. The key to aestheticness is variety. And by the way, I'm going to be sharing a special tip at the end of this video. That's probably the most important thing that I've learned, so make sure to stick around for that. Okay, anyways, back to mixed media, which is that just try to mix it up and use different materials, because in the end, this is going to help. And also, it's going to be fun, and it's just going to like expand your artistic ability as well. Okay, the next thing is color theory. So it's very important whenever you're making a sketchbook spread or just a drawing to think about the colors. So I'm not saying your entire sketchbook has to have the same color theory. I'm just saying when you're making like a spread or a page. So for example, in this drawing, we haven't looked at the colors yet, but I tried to use mostly browns, golds, and greens. And with that, browns, I know the brown, gold, and green goes well together. It's kind of more earth tone colors. So knowing that, I can use those colors, and it's going to make my sketchbook spread look better than if I use just a bunch of random colors. You can also use a color wheel, or you can look up like a color chart of like what colors look good together, such as complementary colors. So complementary colors are colors that are across from each other on the color wheel, such as yellow and purple, blue and orange, things like that. I think I am going to be making a video about color theory and how to implement it into your drawings, so make sure to watch out for that. And this is just something really important, and you can definitely research it further, but it literally makes such a difference in your drawings. Okay, so number 4 is spacing and proportions. So this is another super important thing. So basically, let's see, when I make the sketchbook spread, what I did is I tried to make the equal amount of stuff on each page, and I didn't want to cram it. So you don't want to cram it in, but you also don't want to make it sparse. So basically, you just have to like kind of pay attention to where things are on the page. Like maybe like you put one thing in the corner and 2 things at the bottom, and then on the next page you put 2 things up top and 1 thing on the bottom. And like not using much repetition and then adding other things. So for example, I had this tree next to her. So there's people, but then there's a tree to break it up. This helps with the proportions. And on the other page, I have like some like, it looks like kind of like a camera roll picture, which is I'm going to be coloring in a few minutes, and that kind of thing. So you're basically trying to break up your page, so make it more proportional, and pay attention to spacing. Like don't make things super close together or super far apart. Kind of like sketch it out, play around, see what looks good together. That's another super important thing, is just like seeing what looks good, because normally your brain is going to be able to tell if something looks really good or if it doesn't. So just think about that. Okay, also, number 5 is a little something extra. So this is mostly about texture. So texture is one of the most important things about being aesthetic, and that's adding things other than just 2-dimensional drawings. So for example, I made a video about a week ago of an art vlog for fall, and what I did is I went outside and collected some leaves, and then I pressed them and I added them to my sketchbook. Things like this, like leaves, paper, maybe like ribbons or fabric, little sticky notes, anything like that is texture, and it's a little something extra. This is going to help you achieve that kind of messy aesthetic look, and it's going to help your sketchbook in the long run. You can also add things that you have like a nice memory attached to, like a note or like a pretty flower you dried or something like that, and then you can look back on your sketchbook and it's like a double win, because you can see these things that you made, but also make your sketchbook more aesthetic. Okay, number 6, quotes and notes. One of the keys to having a really nice sketchbook is words. It may not seem like it, but having words in your sketchbook just brings things to a new level. So there's a couple ways you can do this. Number 1, quotes. So something I like to do sometimes is just like take a piece of paper or a sketchbook page and put a quote on it with like a pretty watercolor background or something. And then this is like this nice little breakup in between the drawings, which looks so nice. And then the other part is annotations and notes. So sometimes when I'm drawing, I like to make a little note of like, maybe like what I want to do better next time, or what I liked about this, or like how I colored a certain part of it. And then I can look back at those things on reference. And some people do like to annotate in their heads, which I also do a lot of the time. I'm not one of those people who just writes a bunch. But if you annotate on paper, it's going to look really nice. And as long as you keep your handwriting neat, it's going to add something definitely to your sketchbook. And it also kind of like motivates you. It makes you like feel more, I don't even know, more like you know what you're doing, I guess. Fake it till you make it, I guess. Okay. Number 7 is a cute cover. I really encourage anyone who can to customize their sketchbook cover. Now, obviously, if your sketchbook already has a picture on it, don't customize it. But if your sketchbook's just black or something, like literally customizing it adds so much. That's why I customize my sketchbooks, because then it's like yours. And this is also going to help it because the more personal you make something, the more aesthetic it is. So customizing your sketchbook cover is going to make it better and just like, and it's also going to add something, and you're going to have more sentimental value to it because it's going to be like yours. It's not going to be like the sketchbook you bought at the store. It's like your sketchbook. So you can do this a couple different ways. One of the ways I like to do it is with like some acrylic markers, Posca markers, any sort of marker with like ink that will sit on top of a surface in them. So obviously not the markers I'm using on this drawing. These are the ones that will soak into paper. But anything that'll sit on top of the surface, and I like to write maybe like a quote on it, or like draw some pretty flowers in the corners, or make like a pretty design across it. You can definitely look up like ideas, but this is just like a really cool thing to do, and it's very helpful for your sketchbook. And the other thing about customizing it is you can do other things to make the sketchbook your own. For example, you could have like a common theme. So the theme of my channel is sparkles, right? Because sparkling sketches. So on the cover of my sketchbook, I wrote a quote about sparkles, and then I like drew some little stars. And then throughout my sketchbook, I've had other kind of quotes about sparkles, or like sparkly drawings, or things like that. So you can figure out something that you want to brand that sketchbook with. And it doesn't mean that every drawing has to be about that thing. Like, let's say your theme is flowers. You can make a cover with flowers, and you can make like, an intro page with flowers. I'm going to get to that in a minute. Or like just a few little flower quotes throughout the sketchbook, but it doesn't mean every drawing has to be about flowers. But this is just something to think about, because customizing your sketchbook cover really just makes your sketchbook feel more personal to you and everyone else. And it's also a really good way for everyone to recognize your sketchbook, especially if you have a channel, because I know that a lot of people who watch me have their own art channels. And this is a really awesome thing to do if you have a channel, because then people can recognize your sketchbook every time and it's unique to you. Okay, the next thing is number 8, which is intro and outro pages. So this is a bit of a bigger topic, but basically, I don't know if you guys have seen, but on the beginning of each of my sketchbooks, I make an intro page. Basically what this has is it says the sketchbook number I'm on. Currently I'm on number 2 as far as the start of my channel. And then also it will have like the date I started it and the date I ended when I finished the sketchbook. And I'll have like a cute drawing of maybe one of my OCs or something. And like, welcome to my sketchbook, that sort of thing. And then I'll also make an outro page at the end of it, which has like maybe another one of my OCs or the same OC, and which says like, the next sketchbook will have more, or something like that. And this is just super cute, and it's a super great way to make your sketchbook more aesthetic, because instead of just like random drawings at the beginning and end, you have this like common theme. I like to personally customize them with the same OC, but you can do whatever you would like to do. So yeah, that's another great thing to do. And yeah, so definitely maybe try that out, just like play around with things. But the most important thing I like to do is the date I started and the date I ended, because this is also a great way for me to look back and see how much I've improved over the course of the sketchbook, which I definitely have. Also, by the way, my sketchbook is filling up, so there's probably going to be a sketchbook tour soon. Okay, 2 more tips. We must go a little bit faster because we're getting to the end of this video. Okay, number 9 is mix it up, which basically is adding new styles and ideas. So just like try different things, different art styles, different kinds of drawing, realistic, cartoon, personalized, whatever you want to. Just trying different things will really just make your sketchbook more aesthetic because there's different ideas in it, such as this tree. I don't normally draw plans in my sketchbook spreads, but I have this tree and it's making my sketchbook more aesthetic. Okay, then number 10, the last idea is fill it up. This is the tip I was telling you about. This is literally the most important thing I've ever had as far as making my sketchbooks aesthetic. Because when I was younger, I would just draw one little thing on each page, or skip a page, or things like that, or only draw on one side of the page. No. I didn't understand why my sketchbooks didn't look good until I figured this out. If you draw on every part of it, look at this sketchbook spread. I drew on every part of this page. And then there's also drawings on the other pages on either side, and there's just drawings throughout the sketchbook. If you fill your sketchbook up to its utmost capacity, again, still paying attention to spacing, it will look so much better. This changed my life when it came to how good my sketchbook looked. And honestly, I just cannot stress this enough. And so that's my special tip for you guys. And some of you might have already figured this out on your own, but I know for me, it took me a while to realize this, and so I just wanted to say that. And yeah, okay, those are all the tips, and here is my sketchbook spread finished. Also, that one little part in the corner looks kind of like slime. That was not my intention, but this is not my most aesthetic sketchbook spread, maybe. But I was trying my best, and I did mix it up, and I tried to implement all the things in this video. And yeah, so just make sure your sketchbook is filled up, and just think about these other tips. And I hope this helped you guys, because I feel like all these tips really helped me when I was trying to get my grip on sketchbooks and aestheticness. Okay, so make sure to subscribe, all that fun stuff, and comment down below some of your tips if you have them. And I will see you guys in the next video. Love,